Oh, come on. Can a serial killer possessed doll watch a little bit of Raw without having to deal with commercials every 2 seconds?
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, and welcome to Reel in Films. Um, Super stoked of your documentary. I never felt so happy to see it. I'm gonna give you a small story, very short. Every year, I try to choose a horror film or horror franchise to watch completely. Uh, this year that passed, 2022, I was gonna watch Chucky, but due to having my son and everything, I couldn't watch them. But this year, I'm gonna make sure to watch them all. So,
Oh,
so my question going forward with this is, what inspired you to create this much more longer version of the dollhouse? Because I know that you did one that is a tribute to Chucky, but this time you are giving like a bigger homage on the Chucky franchise.
yeah, it was honest. I love that you know the origin story already. Yeah, it was honestly seeing the response from the Dollhouse in film festivals. Like it coincidentally was the same year that Cult of Chucky was coming out. So I went to all the premieres of Cult of Chucky that year, and my documentary would play ahead of them. And that was my first instance of actually getting to interact with Chucky fans like one on one after having seen it, and their love for the character, and just like getting this sense of overwhelming love for this horror icon. I had no idea, because I'm so, it's just a part of my life. I hadn't seen something like that up close and personal. So hearing Chucky fans' response to that, and then also feeling like I was more a part of the Chucky family at that point, having traveled with them and got to know them more after filming that short documentary. I just figured this thing needs a feature length version, and the franchise has gone on for so long. It blew my mind that something like that already didn't exist, like a retrospect, because it's a horror, like It has one, and Freddy and Jason and all those people have their own one. So I was like, Chucky needs one. It's time.
Oh yeah, going to that, Living with Chucky, is much more than a documentary. Was it your intention to make it feel more about the family that is based off on the Chucky franchise?
Yes, that was my number one intent going into it, was focusing on the personal aspects, because the documentary that I watched that really inspired me to just make the short was a very personal story. It's called Stories We Tell. And the filmmaker was really involved in the process. And that's what set it apart from other documentaries for me, was the personal aspect. So I knew that that was something I heavily wanted to include, and which is why I kind of did it in the first place. So the fact that it became a retrospect was kind of just like a byproduct of setting out to do something a bit more personal.
No, that's super interesting. I really do like that there's like transitions on the film, that you go from VHS to DVD, and then you have this old VHS slash DVD player on it. And I was like, wow, that this brings me back to the times when you had to like clean the VHS to put it back in if it didn't play. Uh, I wanted to ask you, what is what was your experience? You know, you are the daughter of Tony Gardner, and in your film you do talk about how it worked out, you know, to him being, if I'm not mistaken, he was the head puppeteer of Chucky. How was it, you as a child, you know, going through so many films and having, you know, I imagine Chucky in your house all around?
Yeah. It's interesting. It's so my dad started when I was around 4 is when he got involved in the franchise. So it's kind of been something that's existed and just casually been around my entire life. So it's so hard to look at it objectively. Chucky usually is in on my living room couch right there, but his head fell off the other day, so he's in surgery with my dad right now.
Okay.
Um, but it's because he was traveling with me for the film festival, so he's had some travel tear. But yeah, it was an interesting childhood, it's like it started out as seeing him more as like a prop and like a Halloween decoration and just this weird thing that my dad did. And I didn't know the like capacity of how huge a horror icon like that was. It was just something that was in our house. And then as I got older and his presence like continued as the movies continued on, it was almost like a brotherly presence, almost, because the doll just like is always there. I don't know how to explain it. It's so weird.
So I think I'm gonna give you a hard question. I think there's around including the series, I think there's around 7 films of Chucky. And then there's the hit series that is already still running. But what are your top 3 favorite Chucky films?
Oh goodness. Child's Play 2 is my favorite. And then I think you would have to put the original right after that because it just makes sense. And then after that, probably Bride.
Okay. Okay. Did you like that shift that it went from horror to like dark humor um on the films?
Yeah, I think it's kind of necessary to switch it up a little bit. Also, what I appreciate about the franchise is it wasn't afraid to try new things, even if it wasn't, say with Seed received well. But then they, include fans' feedback and be like, oh, okay, that didn't work out so well. We'll go back to what fans are saying that they missed or things like that. So that's a nice thing because if the franchise does something that people aren't quote unquote like happy with or agreeing, they're always going to take the fans' consideration um into it. So yeah. And also like we need more women horror icons. And so having like a Bride, as you would Bride of Frankenstein, was iconic. Her makeover scene is iconic. So like if you didn't have a crush on Jennifer Tilly, then like you would now from that movie. And the doll is such an interesting look as well. So I'm happy that it went that way because then it also gives him somebody to play off of that's also a doll rather than him just being by himself.
I completely agree. I say that there should be more female leads in film in general, as well in horror. I would say in all genres there should be
Yeah.
more female leads. But I completely agree with that. So I would wanted to ask if do you have a moment while filming Living with Chucky that you take to the heart, like you take it with you every time?
Hmm. Um, there's like two things that come to mind, and it would be when I did the interviews with my dad, we did separate interviews, but obviously I was interviewing him for his, and then a joint one where we're both on camera together. And I guess I just really appreciated getting to have conversations with my dad that I may not have had otherwise, because we never really sat down and talked about like how it was for him as a parent to be missing out on things, that like missing out on his kids. I always knew my perspective, and I'm a daddy's girl, so I hated him being gone for long periods of time. But now as an adult and having these like conversations on camera, I really appreciated having a heart to heart with my dad of what it would be like for a parent, because I selfishly never thought about the other side of it until this documentary. Well, in full, in its entirety, obviously a little bit, but I'd never explored that. So that comes to mind. And then David Kirshner, I had never met before this movie, and after I did the short film and was starting this feature, just he called. I had a question for him because I was running into some legal problems, and just like he had this very long sweet monologue of how supportive he was and like invested in my career, and it just made me so happy because that's the producer of Hocus Pocus, like it was just so sweet, and I really felt like family, and I remember that very fondly.
Oh, I remember as well that portion that you spoke about, how all of these actors and actresses, they talk about how sometimes you are on the road for 2 3 months, constantly working on a film, and just being in the house maybe a weekend or a day just to visit your family. And it was really heartwarming for me because, you know, me being a father as well, is that sometimes work takes over and you don't know um, how long you will be working, right? So
Yeah.
that portion that was really nice in the film, and it was very heartwarming as well. It gave like a different, I would say, a different aspect on why this documentary is just much more than just talking about a horror franchise or Chucky, you know?
Right.
So I want to know, would you like one day, would you like one day uh direct an episode or a feature film of Chucky?
Oh, absolutely. I would love the opportunity to direct an episode because I think it's going to be in the TV space for a while, but that would be an absolute dream to be a full circle moment of then directing my dad, so to speak, on this thing that he started before, I was really a fully fledged human being. So that'd be really cool. But it's hard to break into TV, directing TV, I know is really hard to break into.
Is there any interest in you to work on something else, like a, I don't, how can I say, like, or do you have any plans to work on a feature film or in talks to work on and any other project?
Yes, I am diving back into the narrative space, narrative horror, narrative storytelling. I'm currently writing a feature, but also looking at some projects that are features and still like seeing what's out there that I could work on next, for sure.
Okay, that's amazing. Um,
Yeah.
what would be what would be something that you would tell young filmmakers out there, because I did get to see your credentials, and I saw that you worked on many things. um what message will you give them, those filmmakers that are right off starting their careers or studying their studies? Do you have a message for them, like, to never give up, or anything? I don't,
Yeah. Um, it's cliche and everybody says it, but like don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. Cause that was kind of like the epitome of this documentary was just like I had cameras, I had access to the talent. I went and filmed it with not a lot of money and then ran into legal problems down the road later. And it was just crazy because I didn't necessarily have a plan. I was just like, I'm going to make this movie. And do it, just do it and then ask for forgiveness later. But also a lot of the times you will face obstacles and you'll be so set on, you think that the movie has to happen this way or it has to go this way. I have to get a sales agent and I have to go to distribution first, not that you can go to your film festival circuit first. And as if you can get away from the way you think it has to be done based on what you've seen from other people, you'll realize that those closed doors have opened others in ways that you weren't expecting and can come to the same outcome. Like any obstacle is not, I mean, yes, there are some that you can't like hop over, but for as far as like indie filmmaking, if there's a will, there's a way, and you will get it done. I promise you. I thought nobody was going to see this film based on the heaps of legal trouble, that legal red tape that I had. And now people will be able to watch it at home on their TVs, which is crazy. And I never imagined happening. So you can do it.
That's amazing. I gotta tell you, something before we head off to our goodbyes. I was supposed to interview you a couple of months ago, and I couldn't because here in Puerto Rico we had a minor storm and we had a blackout for 2 days. Well,
Oh, whoa.
more than 2 days where I live. So I was so sad that I couldn't completed it until I got the opportunity to do this again.
Aw.
And I'm super excited to interview you and have the chance to talk about Living with Chucky because, again, uh, it's just, I love horror, and it's something that I don't show it off a lot because not a lot of people like horror, but I do love horror, and Chucky is one of my top three favorite characters out there from the original cycles of slasher films
Yeah.
out there. But thank you very much, Kyra, for giving you your amazing words today and having this little chat to talk about living with Chucky. And do you have any other upcoming projects that are close to be out there besides living with Chucky?
Right now I've been in the music video space, so I'll have a few music videos coming out. One of which actually Lachlan Watson, who plays Glenda in the Chucky series, is in. So
Oh, nice, nice.
yeah.
That's amazing. So, just in case for all of our viewers in here in Real In Films, Living with Chucky, it's going to be on the streaming services SCREAMBOX and all major other platforms on April 4th in the US and Canada. So don't miss out. You guys have to sit down on your Apple TVs or Roku's and see this film. Thank you very much, Kyra, for your kind words and this conversation talking about our favorite good boy.
Good guy. Yes, thank you so much. And I'm so glad we finally got to do the interview after so long.
Yes, I'm super excited. Thank you very much for being here with us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.